Hello. Welcome to the True Crime Lounge. My name is Breezy, and here we talk murder and other forms of crime. Okay, so today, before I get into it, this is the YouTube to my podcast, which you can go check out. If I also have a Patreon, if you would like to support me, you can. Oh, oh yeah, and happy Halloween. I love this holiday. It's my personal favorite holiday. Yes, I'm that weird girl that weird person that likes Halloween. Probably more than she does Christmas and everything. Don't get me started on Christmas. Oh my gosh. Anyway, I also have an Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter you can go check out. I also have a merch shop you can check out as well. Now, let's dive into today's episode. And before I get started, I need to tell you how I came up with this concept for today's video. Okay, so, yesterday when I was at work, I was looking up, we all have that one friend that will befriend a serial killer. That led to me, going down the rabbit hole of getting caught with the co-ed killer Ed Kemp. Yes. Which led to me going to the IQs of serial killers, which led to me coming up with an article that I found with serial killers, ranking 10 serial killers in their IQs, which is what I'm going to do, which led to this video. Judge all you want. It does not affect me, does not bother me. I'm just letting you know. That's how we came out with this video. But anyway, but serial killers, we all know them. Most of us have a fascination with them. I might be one of those, most. But I love the psychology behind why they do it. But anyway, I'm just curious though. Like I've done the serial killers. Like I did their religions of serial killers. Why did I not think of doing their IQs? But anyway, oh so oh yeah, I'm thinking of that you guys remember the Wednesday Adam meme? Which one is? Yeah, I'm a homicide. When they asked her what her costume is, she's like, "This is my costume. I'm a homicide maniac." Um, they dress like everyday people. So yeah. Anyway, the first serial killer on our list is Brian Dugan. His IQ was 140. He is currently serving a life sentence for several rapes and murders. He has also has a genius IQ of 140. He had a troubled past, and he was a bedwetter until his teen years. He also even burned his parents' garage down just because he could. He even got into petty crime and spent 3 years in Mengar Correctional Facility with his brother, who they were both sexually assaulted while living there. So upon his release, he upgraded his crimes to rape and murder, eventually being caught by the police several months of these after several heinous crimes. While he claims to feel remorse for his crimes, can't kill, can't kill who he has interviewed and does studied under many psychopaths, does not buy it. He says psychopaths feign sorrow with the face of their crime, but then you ask him, what do you mean? You feel really bad? And Brian will look at you and go, what do you mean? What does it mean? They look at you like, can you give me some help? A hint? Can I call a friend? But yeah, they say in prison is a place of rehabilitation. It's not a place for serial killers. It was not a place for serial killer Steven Christopher Senka, who comes in at number 2 with IQ of 143. So after serving 8.5 years for assault and kidnapping in 1996, he was released in 2004, and after living with a widower for a year as part of his parole, he promptly moved out into his girlfriend Laura Ling's place. Not long after moving in with Ling, he snapped, strangling her and shooting his friend Henry Lee Turner, and raping Ling's teenage daughter before shooting her in the throat. She survived and called the police and promptly arrested him, and there's no known reason why he did what he did. Although Serial killer paraphernalia was found in his home, suggesting he had obsession with them, and later wanted to be one, and he is currently on death row awaiting execution. Next on our number three on our list, probably the most known Lifetime, and Netflix has done so many movies about it. Like serious though, like it's amazing how many people got into Jeffrey Dahmer, like after the whole Netflix debacle, Netflix movie came out. Well, his IQ was 144, and he was a quiet child who had an inquisitive mind who became obsessed with dead animals as a teenager. He grew up to become one of America's most prolific serial killers. Between 1978 and 1991, he murdered 17 boys and men. He usually met his victims at a local gay bar where he would pick them up and bring them to his apartment. Once at home, he would drug them and torture them before strangling them to death. He often had sex with his corpse and partake in cannibalism, eating his victims as a way of keeping parts of their body in his freezer. He was definitely a sick and twisted person, I will say that. Like, I want to do an episode on him, but I can't, I'll have to go, I cannot go into all the details, of the cannibalistic part of it. Like, you truly have to have a stomach for that kind of stuff. And I think I actually have a video on cannibalistic serial killers on here somewhere. But, anyway, although he was diagnosed with borderline personality disorder, several other psychotic disorders, he was declared legally sane to stand trial. He was convicted of 15 to 16 murders, of the 16 murders, and he was committed and sentenced to 15 consecutive life sentences in 1992. He died in prison just 2 days later after being beaten to death by a fellow inmate. Number 4 is the reason I thought this video, so you can thank him, is Edmund Kemper. Well, you can actually thank the fact that we all have that one friend who would be from the serial killer. I want to get inside the head one. I really want to befriend one so bad, just to be like, just to get inside the head, like, why did you do what you do? Anyway, his IQ was 145. He was a giant man, and he murdered at least 10 people between May 1972 and 1976. He had a troubled upbringing, and this led to him killing not only his grandparents but his mom. The majority of his victims were college students, beating them to and earning the nickname the Co-Ed Killer. He was 6'9", weighed over 300 pounds, and his IQ 145. Kemper also had an imposing figure, but his personality was quite the opposite. Softly spoken and intelligent, he often decapitated his victims and kept their heads for several days after disposing the bodies, and eventually turned himself in and pled guilty to his crimes and requested the death penalty. And Kemper is currently serving 8 concurrent life sentences in the Californian Medical Center in Vacaville, I think. Next on our list, we have Andrew Cunanan, 147. You might recall on my Designer Crimes miniseries on my podcast, I actually talked about him briefly when I talked about the House of Versace. Yes, but Cunanan was infamous for murdering the Italian fashion designer Gianni Versace. He had a very bright IQ of 147. He was a very devious individual who was known for being a compulsive liar and believed to have suffered from an antisocial personality disorder, causing him to lack empathy. I'm an introvert, and let me just say one thing. Antisocial is a thing, but not a thing enough where it's gonna be to go kill someone. Just saying. Cunanan was well known in his sexuality, and who often had his own relationships with rich elderly men and soon got involved with selling drugs. Thus, around the same time, he started a relationship with Versace, which quickly ended after the fashion designer found something shady about him. So, on April 27, 1997, He killed his first victim, former boyfriend Jeffrey Trail, and he would go on to kill four more people, with the last being Versace on July 15. 18 days later, he would kill himself in a luxury boathouse, leaving no clue on why he went on his murder spree. Number 6, I believe, I can't remember what number I'm on, is Carol Cole. And with an IQ 152. So a lot of people wonder if some people are born evil or really if it's their surroundings. With Carol Cole, it was her childhood. It was his childhood. He was emotionally abused by his mom, who also dressed him in women's clothing. He was relentlessly teased by his classmates for having a girl's name. And Cole recently, relentlessly, well, despite his IQ 154, he was constantly bullied. He first murdered at 8 when he drowned a classmate, although it was called an accident. He turned to crime as a teenager and eventually spent 3 years in and out of mental hospitals, but he could not get the help he needed. He then turned his attention to picking up and killing women who believed his adulteress like his own mother was. Somehow, he managed to talk his way out of crimes and was caught by police on 2 occasions, but he was eventually arrested by police after being linked to 3 strangulations in Texas. He received a life sentence behind bars and went on to commit several more crimes that occurred in Nevada. When the judge found him guilty and gave him the death sentence, he reportedly said, "Thanks, Judge." Probably had a smug smile on his face, too. He was executed by lethal injection on December 6, 1985. Number 6. Charlene Galogo, with an IQ 160. Gerald and Charlene Galogo were nasty pieces of work. So between 1978 and 1980, they married. They kidnapped, tortured, sexually abused, and murdered 10 teenagers. Often kept as sex slaves, they often kept as their sex slaves. The two did unspeakable things to their victims, killing them in a grisly way, including beating them to death with a hammer and strangulation. So, when Gerald was off to a bad start in life, and his mom was a sex worker, and his father was a criminal who murdered a policeman, Charlene was a grade A student who was a violin prodigy who came from a good home. So how did these two meet, I wonder? It was during their teenage years that she began experimenting with drugs and alcohol, and this is where her life took a different path, leading her to Gerald. Charlene believed to be the brains of their crimes, and when they were arrested, she made a deal with the prosecution and testified against him for a lighter sentence. She got 16 years and 8 months, and she was served before being released back into the world, while Gerald died in prison in 2002 while waiting for death row. Number 7, Ted Kaczynski. Yeah, Kaczynski. His IQ was 167, and he killed 3 people, injured 23, and with his mail bond campaign, 1978 to 1995, a child prodigy with an IQ 167, Kowinski, however you want to pronounce it, commonly known as the Unabomber, won scholarships to Harvard at the age of 15, earned a master's and doctoral degree in mathematics from the University of Michigan. He would also go on to become a teacher suddenly before quitting in 1969. Then, it was when he started to go off the rails, moving to a remote cabin in Lincoln, Montana. He aimed to live a self-sufficient life away from society. taken issues with modern technology, he decided to fight back in delivering bombs in the mail, but all around the country. He believed in encrypted messages that even the FBI struggled to decipher, and managed to stay anonymous for 17 years until the release of his manifesto. Industrial Society and Its Future. Parts of it was published in the Washington Post, and his brother recognized the handwriting and style, leading authorities to his brother. The criminal genius was arrested in 1996 and pled guilty to all charges and sentenced to 8 sentences in 1998. Number 9. Rodney Alcala, with an IQ of 170. Why does this name sound familiar? Well, do you remember the dating game serial killer? Yep, that's right. He was believed to have an IQ of 170, making him one of the most intelligent serial killers of all time. It even makes sense more than Albert Einstein and Stephen Hawking, whose IQs were 160. Keep that in mind. Yeah. Um, he got the moniker of the dating game serial killer after appearing in 1978 episode of The Dating Game while in the midst of his murder spree. Come on. Like, why did they do that? Like, think about it. Lori Vallow? She? Um, Lori Vallow did it. Who else? Was it? Oh my gosh, so many. But why did they do that? Seriously. Anyway, I'm getting off topic. Although he was only found guilty of 5 murders, police believe Alcala may have killed up to 130 across 4 different American states. When he was arrested, police found 1,000 photos of women, teenage girls, and boys in sexually explicit positions that Alcala had taken. Often compared to Ted Bundy, he died in prison in 2021 from natural causes, having spent 22 years behind bars. And number 10, one with the highest IQ on here. So, who was he? Well, that would be Nathan Leopold, with an IQ of 210. He wasn't really a serial killer, as he only murdered 1 victim, but his influence and hysteria surrounding the case making him worth mentioning. This killer, the fact that his IQ was exceptionally high, Leopold and Richard Loeb, commonly known as Leopold and Loan, both came from rich families and were high intelligence. In May 1924, the duo kidnapped 14-year-old Bobby Franks, murdered him, hoping that they would showcase their high intelligence by performing the perfect crime. Unfortunately, their plan came unstuck when Leopold's glasses were found at the scene of the crime. Their alibis began to fall apart under questioning, and Loeb eventually confessed, saying Leopold carried out the murder. Leopold also accused Loeb of killing. The judge found him guilty, sentenced him to life in prison for murder and 99 years of kidnapping. Loeb was murdered in prison in 1936, where Leopold was finally paroled in 1958. After 33 years behind bars, he moved to Puerto Rico and worked as a medical technician, eventually passing at the age of 66 in 1971. Alright, y'all, that is it. I hope y'all have a safe Halloween. And I want you to go check out the podcast. Also, go support the Patreon, help a girl out. Which one surprised you, honestly? With their IQ, and like, if there's anyone in particular you think I should do, feel free to email me. Or you can hit me up on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. I do check those occasionally from time to time. So y'all have a good day. I will see y'all next time. I gotta get some schoolwork done.